Okay, I'm Peter Davis. I'm chief of the Galveston Island Beach Patrol, and I've been working for the Beach Patrol for 40 years.
Tell us what happened. Did you find the other child?
We found the second child this morning here at 47th Street in the area right behind me. At about 1 in the morning, a person found the body floating on the shoreline, called 911. We arrived. The police arrived a little bit before us. They removed the body from the water. Medical examiner checked it, and then they transported it to the funeral home this morning.
Do you have contact with the family? How?
Sorry?
How's the family?
We have a group that's really wonderful called Survivor Support Network that provides aid to families in this type of situation. They've been with them constantly since this happened. They found them lodging, food, counselors, translators, clergy that match their religion, like all that happens with this group. And so they reported the family has sort of been doing okay. The story for me and for my staff has been very difficult because it's this American dream story. Like the family came from Honduras, the husband and wife. They worked for a couple of years to prepare, and they were able to bring the two twins up from Honduras just recently, a couple of months ago from what we understand. And they came here and they went to the beach, and the two twins died in the water here in Galveston. It's also really tragic for us because it happened the weekend before we start staffing lifeguards in lifeguard towers. We provide emergency response year-round. We do patrols year-round, but there's nothing as effective as a lifeguard in a tower to keep people away from those piers or jetties where we always have rip currents. Even on the calmest days, there's a little rip current there. And this drowning, this double drowning, we believe happened in a rip current just on the west side of the Pleasure Pier, which is a pretty strong rip current, usually. But that's 80% of our rescues happen in or around rip currents as a result of rip currents, and we assume that's the same with drownings and near drownings.
Now, where was the boy found? Was he near the jet, near the 47th Street jetty, 51st Street jetty, in between?
I don't know exactly where. It wouldn't have come in right next to the jetty because we have a rip current, and the body wouldn't have floated against the rip current. My assumption is it's just a little bit down on the other side of this pier. But I can get that information for you if you need exactly where it was. We are about 1.5 miles from the last seen point, and so the first child refloated pretty quickly and came in only a couple of blocks west of where the drowning happened. The area behind me is a little bit more distance, but it's been a little bit more time, and we've had a really gentle east to west current during this whole process, and we've also had onshore winds, which made the search very easy. We knew the area was going to be a very limited amount. We just needed the body to refloat to be able to find him. And finally it refloated so we can help the family find a little bit of closure, hopefully.
Yeah, spring break is around the corner, and I believe, now you have to be ready, more than ready, because we're going to have thousands of people here on the beach, in the next week. So how are you going to prepare for this?
So the way that we have to prepare, and we really have to be, to use everyone's favorite and not favorite word right now, is pivot. But we have to switch our concentration on this tragedy and searching, and we have to immediately switch directions. We have, on a busy weekend in Galveston, between 300,000 and 500,000 people that come down to the beach. In a year, we're looking at probably this year more than 7 million. I mean, we were looking at 7 million last year visitors to our island, and so we don't have time to dwell on one thing. We have to move quickly, and so we have a whole formula. We've been doing this a lot of years. So we have a lifeguard academy starting Saturday. We have tryouts Saturday morning if anyone's interested in becoming a lifeguard and joining the team. But we've also been training our full-time staff for a couple of months now, gearing up for this, because they're the instructors, they're the ones in the trucks, they're the supervisors, and so we've been doing that. We're going to run a scenario with the police department, an active shooter scenario, just trying to cover all the bases before the season really gets kicking. I think this might be one of the busiest seasons Galveston's seen if we follow the trend, and we need to be ready for that, and we will be ready for that. But it's important to remember that the lifeguards cover in stations about 9 miles of beach. We have 32 lifeguard towers. Although we patrol all 33 miles, we respond, anywhere, bay, waterway, or whatever, but there's nothing like a lifeguard in a tower to remind people to stay away from those dangerous areas and to give that local information. And so you want to swim by a lifeguard because they're going to remind you if your kids are getting too close to that rip current. They're going to be a source of information if you need a restaurant, but they're also going to be that extra layer of protection. You're going to take care of you, your family, your loved ones. That's your job. but the lifeguards provide an extra layer of protection and a whole nother layer of training if something goes bad. They can handle that. And they're tied into the whole network, not just with the responding lifeguards and trucks who are much higher level of training, but also with police, fire, EMS, and Coast Guard, and all the other groups that are involved in this kind of activity of keeping people safe and getting them back home.
Chief, you've talked about rip currents before many times,
Yeah.
and a person will never know what it's like to be caught up in it. So can you describe to our viewers now, once again, what a rip current is,
Yeah.
and the signs of it, so that they'll know not to fight against it, but to swim with it?
Yeah, I don't think we can emphasize the dangers of rip current enough on the beach. And this is not just our beach, beaches around the world. Rip currents are responsible for 80% of the rescues we make. Same thing nationally and same thing internationally. And so that rip current is the main danger we face when we go to the beach. So it's really important to know and understand what they are and know how to identify areas there might be. Any structure probably is going to have a strong rip current. Anything sticking out in the water, pier, jetty, whatever, is going to have a rip current. A rip current is going to just be really a river, a narrow river that pulls out into the water. So that said, it's going to take sand with it. Knowing that, if you go into a rip current, it's probably going to be deep there. You probably won't feel anything pulling you because you're going to be moving with it, just like you're floating down the river. It's like tubing in New Braunfels or something like that. But you'll notice you're getting farther away from shore. What happens and why people drown usually in rip currents is they start trying to swim straight towards shore. Against the current, they panic, and then they choke on water and go under. Knowing that, all you have to do is float and relax. Call for help if you're able, don't worry about it if not, and go with the flow. And that current's probably going to take you out. You're going to hit something called a lateral longshore current that runs parallel to shore, and that'll take you out of that rip current, and the waves will knock you back in. If you're a super good swimmer, you're super comfortable out there, surfer, whatever, all you need to do is swim parallel to shore away from breaking waves, preferably in the direction that the lateral current's going, the one that's running parallel. Once you hit breaking waves, they're only breaking because the water's shallow. They don't break in deep water. So you usually can stand up, and even if you can't, the waves will knock you back to shore. So really just two things to remember. Relax and float is one. If you're able, swim parallel to shore, and that'll take you out of that rip current. If you see somebody in a rip current, please do not go in after them. Lots and lots of drownings here locally and nationally happen in 2s and 3s because we have a would-be good Samaritan that goes to help somebody else, and they get in trouble and they get overwhelmed and they start climbing on each other and they drown together. So what you want to do is extend something, throw something that floats. At the end of each of our jetties, we have a buoy box. Open that buoy box, grab that ring buoy out, grab the rope in your other hand, toss it to the person, pull them up on the rocks. Worst thing that happens in that case, they get a little bit cut up. Anything else you do, you don't want to go in, you just want to get the attention of a lifeguard or call 911. We can be there within a couple of minutes and we'll take care of it from there.
So the tag on.
Why it take us too long to find the second body?
Sorry.
Why it take us too long to find the second body?
The question was, why does it take so long to find the second body? And this is something that's really interesting. So what happens when someone drowns is they're going to go underwater. It's going to be a while before they refloat. When they refloat depends on a lot of factors. It can be the water temperature, their body makeup, last meal can be a factor, all that thing. So sometimes people will refloat quickly, and sometimes they'll take a long time. Generally in the wintertime when the water's cold, it takes a long time. It could be 2 weeks. But normally in summer conditions, we're looking at 2 to 4 days or something like that. Both of these children refloated within the window of what we would think was normal. It's just there's a lot of variety in what's normal. And so probably one was in a little shallower water and just got pushed in by the waves when he started refloating. The other one might have been deeper and then just came up farther away. The current pushed him down and came back in. So when we search with all these people, it's if in a lake we might be able to put divers in because we know the area, but in open water there's so many conditions that the body can move so far. I mean, even this one, which didn't move that far by our standards, still went a mile or two before it came back up. And so you have to realize that that's a lot of area, and so generally sometimes we get lucky and they get snagged on an area that's shallow or get pushed in by waves, or sometimes we just have to wait till the ocean gives them back to us and do the best we can to be there, as quick as we can. We all want to find the body quickly because we know the family needs it, and that's really what this is about. It's not a rescue operation. We're not trying to save the person, but that poor family's sitting there not really knowing what happens until they find the body.
Now to tag on to that question about spring break, are you going to have your lifeguards during spring break and going forward a little bit more aggressive on their whistle, pulling people back in from going out too far? there more measures going into that?
So, if I understand your question, will the lifeguards do something different because of this drowning?
Yeah, they're gonna be a little bit more aggressive and pull people back in.
The lifeguards always do, I think, what the best standard is, and so we don't change what we're doing because we have a drowning, because we never want there to be a drowning, so we're already doing those things. And so what we're going to do is what we always do. We take the lifeguards that we have available, we're going to pick the areas with the highest concentration of people and the highest risk, and judging on that, we're going to fit that into our little matrix, and we're going to put them in the areas where we think they can do the most good. We're going to do the best we can with our mobile units to cover the areas that are not by there. We're going to concentrate those areas with mobile units. Example would be, we're almost certainly going to have a lifeguard at 53rd Street. That's a busy beach. It's in an area with a lot of tourists, so that's an area where we're going to put somebody. We're probably going to have a mobile patrol on the west end of the island or in some of the areas that are not as densely populated, because we may not have the staff to put them there. So we just use our resources the best we can.
Do you have the name who was found first?
Of the kids. Now, in Beach Patrol policies, we don't release names of children. If it was an adult, it wouldn't be a problem. The medical examiner can provide that information, I'm assuming.
Okay. Anything else that you want to add about this?
I think generally, I just want to say that we're looking at a beautiful spring break coming up. We have a lot of activities in Galveston. It's going to be a really fun time, I think. We would love to have everybody come down and know that we're starting our lifeguard program this weekend. You can feel a little safer. Go on our website, GalvestonIslandBeachPatrol.com, check out that safety information, pick an area with a lifeguard and have a great time, and visit Galveston.com to know what's happening around the island.
So far through the year, how many drivers do you have?
An average? In an average year in Galveston, we probably have 6 to 8 drownings in a year, open water drownings like this. When I started in '83, we probably had around 20. So I think the reduction is partly because people know more what to do to stay safe, and partly because we've expanded our service and do a lot more public education. But also, I think it's definitely not because there's fewer people coming to the beach. I mean, 7 million people a year coming to the beach is a big number.
They have to follow the rules, follow the signs, that's what
Yeah, we would definitely ask that you just follow all the safety recommendations and also the rules. We have a bunch of them, and so the back of each lifeguard tower has a list of the sort of top 10 things to remember to be safe and to be legal. So we've kind of incorporated a lot of the safety rules into our city code, and so we have a whole code that talks about how to be safe. Don't come swim within 100 feet of a pier. Don't swim more than 50 yards offshore. All that is a legal deal, and it's also a safety recommendation.
So far through the year, this is the first drowning that we have in Galveston?
No, these 2 drownings are the second and the third. We had early in the year, it wasn't a beachfront drowning, but we had a kayaker drown on the west end out in the bay earlier this year. So this is the second, third of the year.